All right. Welcome everybody, and then those that will be joining, and if you've been watching this today, we're starting another session. My name is Samson, and with me is Kemi.
I whispered the name. Kemi.
Yeah, Kemi Oyeyiola. Use your voice. Yeah,
Oyeyiola.
yeah, Kemi Oyeyiola. Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah.
Yeah, you're welcome.
We're getting close to the end of fall, and I guess this is the last wrap up of fall, and then we should be expecting our snow.
Yeah, don't you think we're even lucky this year, right, Constance? No snow yet. By
No,
this time
no
of the
snow.
year, oh my God, we are so lucky. Today is sunny, and I think we're gonna have
Yeah, double digits.
Can you imagine? We are so blessed.
Yeah.
But I bet you, when that snow comes, everybody better be ready for it.
Yeah, we're ready for it.
It's
Yeah.
coming with full force.
Nice. Yeah.
I guess we can still do some barbecue outside today.
Yeah, we should be able to.
Not
Yes.
bad.
Not bad at all for for the last wrap. Anyways. Anyways, it's been a busy week. It's been a wonderful time, and it's been a beautiful year so far. And then we do believe that in one way or the other, we've been able to encourage ourselves. We've been able to learn from one another. We've been able to build a whole lot of friends via this platform. Life Trace is all about learning and networking. Learning in such a way that learning and networking to fulfill purpose in such a way that we can be able to impact lives in any way and anyhow, everywhere we find ourselves. If you're watching this video live cast, I want to encourage you to please like, subscribe, leave a comment. We're open to feedback. Leave a review. Like us on Facebook, Life Trace on Facebook, and as well as Life Trace on YouTube. I want to go right away into today's session 3. If you missed session 1, session 2, I will encourage you to go look up Life Trace YouTube and then Life Trace on Facebook. That way you can understand where we're coming from. Constance has been able to take us through trauma-informed, and specifically for parents, educators, even adults. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to turn this over to Constance Murdock.
Thank you very much for that introduction. I'm excited to share what we have here. I'm just trying to, okay, so we are going to continue on with this presentation. And we talked about last, was it 2 weeks ago? We talked about, building a trauma-informed culture by learning, recognizing, and, taking action. And we know that it takes work. It's not something that we're going to, it's going to happen immediately. It's almost like I would make reference to it as taking control of a train that's out of control. So we have to take back that control by learning how to work with our children and our families who have been through trauma. And then through that learning that we also talked about the common symptoms that we see within our children and even within ourselves as adults, we also experience that. And we also looked at the long-term stress that comes with it and the ripple effects through relationships, and how it impacts each of us individually just by having to work with those that have been through trauma, and then trying to, and we wonder why, how come we can't establish a relationship with someone who's been through trauma? Well, until we can understand what they've been through, then we're not going to be able to build that relationship with them until we understand that concept. And then even understanding what the impacts of our childhood trauma and what that was like, and how it impacts us today as adults. That is something that still, that we as individuals, even in society in general, are still working on, trying to understand how to work with the children who have been through trauma. So we have to now look at uh, that shift that we need to have now to looking at it as understanding what that looks like. So when you look at this diagram, our brain is processing this shift of trying to retrain our brain to think about trauma-informed thoughts rather than having to be stuck in the past or that incident that had occurred. And when we don't understand what that child is going through and how we need to train them in how they think, this is what their brain looks like when they're trying to make that shift from trauma brain to a trauma-informed brain. A trauma brain shuts down, like I said, like they won't think of anything but negativity or hurt or self-blame or being a victim or low self-esteem. So we want to switch that. And like I said, it's like a train running out of control. So it takes some time to make that shift from a trauma brain to a trauma-informed brain. So that's what we're gearing towards, and that's what we want to do so that we can help our children, help our adults who have had childhood trauma. And that's our goal, right? Is to try and understand what did they go through, what are they dealing with, why are they acting like this? It's what happened to them. What are we going to do to help them? So this is how we are training ourselves to be informed so we can work with these individuals and understand where they're coming from. We've heard that saying, walk a mile in my shoes and you'll understand what I've been through. So that's kind of where trauma people with trauma are going through. Like we'll never understand them until we all actually walk with them and having that not sympathy, but compassion and being empathetic in what it is that they're going through. And that's where we, as individuals that are training ourselves to be trauma informed with understanding, want to work with them so that we'll know what it is that they're going through. And so leading us down to this spreadsheet that I have here, we look at this behavior, we look at the common belief and explanation, and then we look at a trauma-informed understanding. For example, this individual gets mad easily. Like, we all often hear that, right, as adults. Oh, they get mad so easy. I don't know why they get mad so easy. Like, we always hear that, right? And so we turn that around. Well, they just want their own way. But really, when you look at a trauma-informed understanding, fear is often the underlying of anger. It's not always because they're angry or about something. So it's their way of protection, it's survival mode instinct when a person is in trauma. And then when you look at this next phase where it says a child doesn't want to change their clothes for bedtime. A common belief is, well, they're refusing to follow the rules. They're challenging the caregivers. And really, when we think about it in trauma-informed understanding, well, that child has fears for safety. They feel safer with their clothes on. So we kind of have to understand what it is that they're going through, what it is that they're experiencing, what it is that they may have been faced with. Like we need to understand where they're coming from as to what it is that's happening in their life. So we need to put aside this common belief or this explanation and look at the underlying issue of what it is that you're going through. And then when you look at boundary issues, sometimes you've had children or people that they need that physical contact, and right away as individuals, let's say, for example, in my profession, in the school system or as clinicians, they say, oh no, you can't allow kids to touch you, you can't allow kids to hug you. But there's a lot of kids out there that have no boundaries, and they need that contact. And for us to push them away is like rejection all over again. So when we look at that, say, oh, they're just acting needy, or they just want to manipulate you, or they don't know their limits for affection, that sort of thing. That's our common belief, right? When we see children like that, or even adults. And really, trauma-informed understanding is that child or that person needs assurance, needs that healing touch, that closeness that we all long for as human beings, as individuals. It's just that longing to feel. So when you look at the behaviors and the common beliefs and the trauma-informed understanding, so when you look at the next one, acts disinterested, does not pay attention, or is disobedient or defiant. So our common belief is that always being obstinate, and he likes to challenge authority. So if you were to look at that from a trauma-informed understanding, what would that look like for you? I'm putting it out there and letting you think about that, and how would you see, what would that child's needs be? Or what would that child's underlying need or fear be in that situation? So it's making you think outside of the common belief of what that child is being, when really, what is it that child needs? Do you get where I'm coming from? So when you look at that, what do you see that child as? What do you think that child needs at this time? Put it in the chat, even shout it out, like whatever you think that child thinks about, or what you would think a trauma-informed in understanding would be in this situation. So start thinking about that. And then the next one is recurring crisis, violence, addictions, or self-harming. Right away we look at it as, lacking power, wanting attention, or moral lacking. When really, what is that young child, adolescent, or youth, or even an adult who's involved in addictions or self-harming behaviors? What are they looking for? What are they seeking for? They're not, it's not that they lack power. They're wanting attention. For what reason? So we have to look at it from a trauma-informed understanding. Well, maybe that child it didn't have a sense of belonging. It didn't feel like they didn't fit in. You start looking at those kind of things from a trauma-informed perspective, rather than go based on that common belief of, that child is being disobedient. And you always hear that word bad. I don't like that word bad. There's never a bad kid, just bad behavior. And we tend to hear that a lot, and I often correct people when I hear them say, "Oh, that's a bad kid," or "They're being bad." I said, "No, they're not being bad. They're just doing something that's not right, and we have to correct them." So trying to retrain even individuals to look at the need rather than the explanation or the belief of what that child is doing. And I can use my own children for examples. If they were angry, they got angry about a situation that they were told not to do, and then if something happened and they lashed out at me as a parent, I would say to them, "You know what? I think you need to go to your room for a bit and cool off, and we'll talk about this later. There's something going on, and we need to figure this out." And it was a challenge for me, because I had to change my whole perspective on how to parent, because back in the days, parents, they weren't bad parents, but they just parented in a different way. And so I had to retrain myself and stop calling my boys bad. I had to retrain myself to look at it in a different way, so that, okay, something happened, and you have to figure out what it is that happened. It took me a lot of time, many years to figure that one out. But over time, as I learned more and more about trauma, then I realized, okay, now I understand. It's not that they're wanting attention. Something happened to them, and you got to figure out what it is that happened to them. So as parents and even educators, we have to. That's one of our struggles that we have in the system, is that they're labeled as being bad, they're labeled as troublemakers, they're labeled as manipulative. But what is really wrong going on for that child? What is really happening for that student? You know, and I think as adults, we need to take that responsibility and take the action and start being trauma informed so we understand where our children are coming from. And I see a lot of that in the school. And a lot of times, you know, when a child, for example, is wanting to commit suicide, they all say, well, I just want to kill myself, or, you know, I don't feel like living anymore, or I just want to die. And then when you ask them, well, do you have a plan? And they say, yeah, I have a plan. This is what I'm going to do. And say, well, let's talk about this a little bit more. What's going on? What happened? And so, you know, the more you talk to them, the more you get to the root of why they're hurting so much. It's not that they don't want to, it's not that they want to die. They just want people to know they're hurting. And they want to know they want people to know that, okay, this is what happened, but I don't know how to tell you. So it's a process to get them talking about what it is that happened, so we can better understand where we can help them and, you know, be that support for them. And it's like I said, it's a long process. It's not an easy task. We have to be more understanding when talking to our children in the kind of language we use. That's very important in how we speak to them. So we go on to, you know, when we look at our children that have been through trauma, that have, or even survivors of trauma who have experienced trauma, there's a lot of resiliency that takes place, and they don't realize that these strengths and these resiliencies come into play when you begin to come out of that survival mode. You begin to recognize and fight harder because you want to have a better life, you want to have a better relationship, you want to be more involved in the community. So it kind of goes around and around and over time, and it's never going to be the same for an individual, but they still have that ability to fight. They still have that ability to survive. And it happens over time. It's not, like I said, it's a process, and it's something that's going to be ongoing. There'll always be setbacks, but at the end of the day, a person who has been through trauma or experienced trauma, their ability to bounce back is amazing. I've seen a lot of people come through trauma and be on top of the world. I can, for example, I can use myself for an example. Growing up, like I had such a large family. There's 13 of us. I got married at a young age, you know, and still wasn't mature enough to make proper decisions. And I got involved in an accident where one person had died, and that still affects me today. Like it doesn't leave you, but it's about, okay, if you stay stuck, you're gonna stay there. It's going to impact you to the point where you can't move forward because you keep playing it over and over and over and again in your mind. You always play, oh, the what ifs, I should have, I could have, you know, I would have, that sort of thing. It was going through my mind, and it really played havoc with me, emotionally and mentally and spiritually. You know, it really impacted me in that way. And I still have triggers today. But you know, at the end of the day, I had to decide for myself, okay, I need to do something about, I need help. I need to get back on track. I can't change what happened. I can't make things better. I can't make things right, but I can move forward and help myself. And so I got into, what would I say? I had to build a relationship again spiritually. That's where the healing began. And from there, I had to learn to forgive myself, and knowing that I was forgiven, I also had to forgive myself for the things that happened. But yet today, still these triggers are there. But this is where I am today because of the strength that it pushed me. It challenged me to be resilient. It challenged me to reconnect, not only to other individuals, but also back to my community. So now this is where I am giving back to my community because of the resiliency that I was able to come through with it took a lot of courage, it took a lot of strength to push through, because when you are a person who has experienced trauma, you put yourself through the ringer where you think less of yourself because of what happened. So it took a lot of healing to bring me where I am today because of that. So I believe that over time, these relationships can be restored and you can start giving back to the community, and then it could go back into the same circle where the relationship gives back to you, gives you the strength you need. You give back to the community gives back to you. You know, it goes, it's the reciprocal is the word. So when you look at that, we look at, okay, how are we going to create that climate of hope and resiliency for our children and for those that we work with? So when you look at this slide, you know, we need to acknowledge that we have the ability to survive and grow from that adversity. And I just used myself as an example, you know, and we have to acknowledge that the strength that it takes to get us from here to there, and, you know, to keep living it and to keep practicing it and keep being encouraged by it. And I never really had that opportunity to practice this. The only time I started practicing trauma informed when I went back to school and became a social worker. Then I began to understand how I was able to heal from the trauma because of the strength it took me to get there. And so now that's where I am. I'm giving back to the community by giving them this information so that they also can heal, that they also can bring their children to a place of understanding that it's not that they're bad. It's not that they're being out of control. There's always a reason behind these behaviors, and we need to start informing parents that this is what a trauma-informed practice looks like. You know, and also to get them to focus on the healing and just moving beyond survival. It's to move beyond that and looking towards that healing process and letting them decide what that healing looks like for them. So everybody's healing journey is going to look differently. It's not going to look the same as me. It's my healing journey. It's going to look different. It's all based on how they're going to deal with it and the time it's going to take for them to heal. And healing, it's a process. It's going to take time. But we need to help them believe in themselves and support them in their efforts to heal. So that's where we need to become more aware of how we're going to help our children and our educators and our parents to understand how we need to work with our children. And so this one, it talks about, you know, how are educators and parents going to meet the needs of the children who are traumatized. And we do that by working collaboratively with one another. And that's by, you know, creating a safe place for our children, whether it be in school or home or, you know, just making sure that that would be the first priority for them, for our children when we're working with them. And, you know, again, is strengthening that relationship, because when we're coming from a traumatized mindset, we're not able to build those relationships. It's difficult for us to do that. So we need to build those relationships not only with the educators and the parents, but also with the children, and always having the children in the forefront of, okay, we need to work together in order for us to help our children go through that process of trauma. And like I said again, time is the factor. Time is where we need to, you know, we're not going to expect change overnight. You know, if a child is disciplined or sent home from school, and the expectation of them is that they're going to change overnight. That's not going to happen. That's the reality because of the traumatized brain that they're operating in. So we have to build that relationship with one another as parents and as educators and work together so that we can create a safe place for our children. And we have to be regulated and supportive of one another, because if you have an angry parent that comes to the school and because the child has been sent home because of a bad behavior, of course a parent is going to go in angry. So we have to, as educators, we need to regulate that parent and bring them to a place where you kind of give them their space and just let them vent, and to be patient with them as they go through their phase of being angry, and then just letting them walk through with it and being kind to them, being respectful even though you're angry. So by doing that and being the calm in the storm, you're settling that person down, you're regulating them so that they would be able to listen and work together and do a plan so that the children would be able to come back to school and be supported in a safe environment, because they know that the parent and the educators are on board with one another, and they're going to learn from one another. They're going to learn how to work with their children, because the parent knows the child at home and the educator knows the child at school. So when you come together and you work together, then you're going to be able to come up with a supportive plan that is going to help them be successful in life and also in their academics. So that's something that we need to be mindful of as parents and as educators. That it takes. It's going to take time. Again, that word is always going to come up. Time is of the essence. Time is the factor. Time is the one that we need to look at, because, like I said, a child goes home for one day with bad behavior, they're not going to come back different the next day. It's going to take time, and going to take the parents and the education system, admin, to work together, be supportive of one another, and strengthen that relationship so that there's open communication at all times, so that we'll know what's happening for that student or that child. Because there are times where a student will come to school, you'd know right off the hop they've had a bad day. They had a bad start in the morning. They'd come to school, have their head down low, have their hood up, and they'd be just all sad looking, and they say, oh, they had something happen at home, so right away that just by observing their behavior that they're going to be off to a bad start. So then we need to connect with the teachers or the educators and let them know, what, so-and-so came in this morning and this is what's happening. So, just kind of keep your eye open, give them a little bit space, trying to get them to understand that if something is triggering that student in class, it's not because he did it purposely, but something happened prior to him coming to school. So just understanding those kind of things and learning from one another, and getting the parents to communicate to the education system that, what, my son had a bad morning. We kind of got into disagreement, and kind of just watch out. He's going to go in with a bad mood, and this is why. So just getting each other to understand what's going on for this child and working with them collaboratively. And so when we start to look at the differences, like the educators and the parents will always have a different point of view of how things should be done. And these are the things that we need to navigate through as we work with our children. Is, we need to stop blaming one another. Parents got to stop blaming the system. The system's got to stop blaming the parents. We just have to take responsibility and focus on the child. Okay, what can we do together to help this child, rather than blaming one another, and being supportive of one another. Remember that children are different at home than they are at school, vice versa. So, we need to be mindful of that and understand what it is, what's it like for the parents at home, and, what's it like for the educators at the school. They're both probably going through the same thing together. So we, just taking that responsibility and making sure that they're both on the same page, and that they're open to discussions, and when that takes place, then we need to be kind and just be truthful in how things need to be done in a respectful manner, and just being mindful too of students know how, not only students but children, they know how to split decisions when it comes to parents or teachers. If for example, if my son said, if I say no to my son, he knows how to go to his dad and ask his dad, say, well, she said this, or well, this is what she said, or this is what she promised me, blah, 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 right? So kids are good at that. They know how to play the game. So we have to be on the ball and not allow that to happen when we want to work together as educators and as parents, to make sure that they're not pulling us apart for their betterment, really, not knowing that it's good for them, but yet they try to make the teachers and the parents disagree. So that's why it's very important to have good communication with one another. And then we have to be proactive in the expectations that we have of one another as educators and as parents, and letting the students or the children know that even as parents, we need to be mindful of that. Always be on the ball of how things are, what is expected of them, and make sure that it happens before anything gets out of control. And then also to be mindful of your own needs, and to be kind and to be gentle with one another. That's very, very important in how we need to navigate our differences when we want to work together with the system, to work at solutions with our children that we're working with. And then keeping in mind, I thought this was very important to understand, that keeping in mind that when you're working with children and families that have gone through trauma, that you yourself can come or be experiencing what they call secondary trauma or vicarious trauma. And sometimes as parents or even educators, they would get sick. Like we would get sick, right? If we were experiencing trauma, we have the same experiences when we're dealing with children who have trauma, because again, I can use myself as an example. I'm working with children every day, and a lot of times these children would come in and I'm hearing their stories over and over and over again. And for me, that when I started feeling all these things, if I'm sick, I'm lacking energy at school or after home. Of course, I don't drink or smoke, so I wouldn't be doing that. But some of the behavioral symptoms that I may be feeling is I may be avoiding people or feeling overly critical. And at times, when I recognize that I'm in that state, then I know, okay, I need to debrief with someone. I need to talk to somebody, and that's why it's important to have someone to talk to. Like I myself go for therapy once in a while, just to help to let go stuff that I'm carrying, that I don't want to have this experience, especially when I'm working with children who tell me their stories over and over again. And and I could even relate to the emotional symptoms of just being irritated by little things. I recognize all these things in myself because of what type of work I do. And even when I think about the cognitive symptoms of, I find that I'm getting forgetful, and I'm not blaming old age either. But that's just these are all common symptoms that we experience when we have secondary trauma. And even as parents, we feel this when our children go through things, when they tell us what's wrong and we watch them go through their pain. We can experience these things as well. And you may not even be aware of it, and and brush it off as something else, when you have to start looking at okay, I need to go back and I need to process what just happened. I need to find out, okay, what's going on for me? Starting to be self-aware and be mindful of what it is that you're experiencing because of what you're feeling from what just happened. So that's why it's important that when we experience secondary trauma, we need to take care of our child, but we also need to take care of ourselves. That is the most important thing. We cannot help our children if we don't first help ourselves, because we were not able to take care of them. So this is just part of the things that we experience as educators and as parents. We go through things in life, but we also need to take care of ourselves in order for us to be able to work with our children and help them and be the support that they need, but also to encourage one another to work with the system so that we can take care of our children the way that we should be taking care of them or can be taking care of them. I think that's very important. So with that, I'm going to leave this with you, and just put in your chat, what's one thing you gained from this session? I'm going to leave that with you, and we'll continue on. I'm not sure, 2 weeks time. Correct me if I'm wrong.
2 weeks time, yeah.
For the session 4, we'll continue on with the sessions on trauma-informed care for our children.
Thank you.
And so that's it. If anybody has any questions or if they have anything that they want to share, if you yourself are feeling this secondary trauma, I encourage you, talk to someone, reach out to someone. Don't leave it at that. This kind of topic is very sensitive, and if you're triggered in any way, please reach out to someone. Don't leave without reaching out to anybody. Okay, so that's it for today.
Wow.
Thank you so much.
Thank
for
you
the
so
information.
much.
The last slide that we're looking at says, one thing that you've taken away from this session, if you just want to put a comment in there, let us know, that you're really part of this conversation, that you gained something, something that just struck your mind. Oh yeah, I've been able to take this away from the whole of everything that Constance has said, right? Thank you so much. When you were talking, I was like, oh, something just came to my mind. Oh, how will a traumatized parent help their child that is, being traumatized? But, towards the end of the slide, you answer my question, right? That you also have to take care of self. If you don't take care of yourself, then there is no way you can help that poor child, right? So yourself, it's so important. You have to take care of yourself first, then you can be able to help the child that has been traumatized. So yeah, you really answered my question.
Yes, that's good. I'm glad that.
Well, anyways, that's a brilliant question, though. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I know, because at times, we parents too, we've been through a lot, and then some of us are maybe secondary trauma or the primary trauma, whatever that we're going through, right? We've been through so much things too. We have a lot of stuff going through our mind too, but we have children too that at the same time that we have to take care of. So if we don't take care of ourselves, how can we take care of those ones? So
yeah, come to think of it,
ourselves is important too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, come to think of it, the child is innocent from because they don't know And then it's up to the parents to let them know, right? Yeah.
Yeah, we step in. We step in. We are the guiding angel, so we are responsible to kind
Correct.
of lead them and guide them in the right way.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
What is one thing that you've gained from this session? Put it in a comment, and if you want to unmute yourself, one thing for me that stood out is there is no bad child. But there are bad behaviors, child with the bad behavior. But because there are circumstances of situation, right?
Yes.
There's circumstances of threat, abuse, anything at home that had happened. Maybe they lost a loved one or something somehow, somewhere. Yeah, someone said here, Adeni Kilawal said, is it okay to share your traumatic experience
with your kid?
Yeah, that's a very good question.
Well, you know what, it's okay to experience what you have felt, but I wouldn't go into great detail. If it's going to trigger something, I would prefer that you share your, talk to a therapist or an adult, but share with your child what it is you felt when you were traumatized. I went through the same thing with my sons. I explained to them, okay, this is why I act this way, and this is what happened, and this is why it happened. This is what happened to me, and this is why I'm so angry. This is why I'm so hurt. Just being very basic in the feelings, using feeling words that the kids understand, but not the total experience of details. Kids don't need to hear that because we want to protect them, right? We're their protectors. So we have to be careful how we share our experience with our children. If they're adults, then I can understand being able to share with them then. But when they're children, then be very basic in terms of something happened to mommy, and it really hurt me emotionally, and this is how it made me feel. Being very indirect with how you tell them what you went through without being too detailed, so that you're not traumatizing them.
So my take home, anybody's take home? Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we really understood Adeni Kelawal's question. Maybe the kid she's talking about might be adult kids or young kids. So maybe she want to really clarify. You're talking about kids from 18 years old that would consider them as adult, or kids that are way younger.
Or your children. Yeah.
Right,
Thank you so much. My kids are older now, but I've been sharing my experience with them when they were young. So I have a similar case with my brother. I was raised by stepmom, and I passed through a lot of things. Like, back home, they don't want you to be successful. So in order to encourage my children, also, even though I went through all this and I still came out well. So as I was telling them the process of my trauma, it affects them. Negatively. So it affected them negatively. So they will keep, so mommy, you went through all this. So up till now, they still refer to it. So I know it's not good to share, but I was sharing it in a way to encourage them that no matter what you go through in life, the Lord knows where you're going through.
Correct.
No matter what, you will still get there. And that was why I was sharing, not knowing that it will affect them. So at times they put it back on me. Must we go through what you went through? Where we are. So they will put it back on me. Must we go through what you went through, mom? No, it's not going to happen. Then I know that, I have shared a wrong experience with them. Thank you.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
That's a good question. I really love that. It's not everything that we have to share with our kids. Maybe just like Constance said, maybe just a brief of where you went. So I went through this, but I was able to conquer, but maybe not really in details of where you actually went.
What's your take home?
Good evening, everyone.
Hi, good evening.
From the UK.
I joined in late, so I was unable to get much information, but from the little ones I've gotten, mine is more of a question than a take home. I just need a clarification on something. talking about trauma, if it's a situation whereby the child was involved in a traumatic situation, how do you help such child to come over it? How do you um help them to come out of the trauma?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's a really good question. Just being supportive of them, giving them time, allowing them time to process things. And if you have access to a trained therapist to get them into and help them process the events of what happened, just reassuring them, just loving on them, letting them know that you're there for them, that you're not judging them for what happened. You're just being there, just comforting them, because it's very important as parents that not to force our children to talk about what happened, because they're going to shut down anyway. So it's better, silence is gold, and they say, right? And sometimes they need that from individuals, just to let them be silent, and just reassuring them that you're there for them. You're going to protect them. You're going to watch over them. You're there to hear them when they're ready to talk. And if they're not ready to talk, then and they're still going through that, that's why it's important to get them into therapy right away. But being supportive of them and just loving on them, and being the silent listener, and just making sure that they know you're there for them whenever they're ready. I believe that's the most important for them. Is safety is key for these children. They want to make sure that they're safe.
Yeah.
So just making them feel safe.
All right.
Wow.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that question. Yeah, it's been a wonderful ride today. Yeah, I think I love this. Okay, someone is saying something here. Do you want to read it?
From Abose de Madu. My take home is that when situation happens, the focus should be on the child, not on the system.
One.
Wow, that's deep. Focus on the child,
And
not on the system.
Yeah, if I just wanted to say something about that. It's I've seen situations where maybe a child got traumatized in school, maybe something bad happened, and parents tend to like, oh, what was the teachers doing? What was the school's responsibilities? They just want to fight on regulations and forget that there's a child that's actually involved, that needed the help to recover. And so that one just like struck, because there have been situations online that I read about, and people just talk about the situations and they just kind of leave the child out of the just focus.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And then thank you for today. We appreciate every participant. It's been a wonderful session 3. I mean, I gained so much today. I'll go back and watch the video, because each time I go back, I watch and I say, wow, this is really deep. Great tips to help a parent close by to you, a neighbor, a family, a friend, within your network, within your community. What impact are you making? There's a little input you can make in someone's life that can change their life. A smile, a thank you note, I mean, a gift, a something. Christmas is fast approaching, as you know. November is, we're just getting close to November. But in this season that we are getting into, what impact are you making to help someone who's going through a traumatic situation, or whose family is in a state of, breaking, or might have even break, or living with that trauma? Ladies and gentlemen, we can make a change one step at a time by helping someone, because their healing journey begins with them. And then we can also share our own part by instigating, by starting a conversation. And that's why we are here, to help build a conversation to change lives, because the healing journey begins with you. And if you're watching this I want to encourage you. Share this with a friend.
Yeah.
Share this information. We are very grateful, Constance Murdock, for
Thank you.
sharing this with you, for sharing this with us. Thank you very much. My name is Sam, and with me here is a co-host, co-laborer, Ken Oyeyiola. We want to encourage you and wish you a wonderful weekend. Please keep sharing and keep loving and keep encouraging someone out there.
Thank you.
God bless. It's Sam and Ken, Director Distractor. We'll see you in 2 weeks from now.
And please just make sure you help us invite a lot of people.
Yes.
Maybe that is your own quota that you can contribute back to the community. So
Absolutely.
Sharing, with someone you never can tell.
Absolutely.
Who might really be in need of this.
Great.
session.
So please go mark your calendar down. In two weekends from now, we'll be together again on this platform in here with Constance Murdock. Bye-bye.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Enjoy your week, everybody.
You as well.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Yeah.